Software development life cycle, the engineering process behind each and every successful software product in the market. Because things don't work the way you used to work in your college project by creating the reports one day before the presentation and getting the code features done. In big industries, we need to follow a proper procedure, and there are different phases a product has to go through. So, for whom is this applicable? If you are planning to pursue a career in software domain, then this is for you. You need to know all the phases a product goes through before getting deployed and before it reaches the users. And why to watch this video? Because in this video, we will be covering four things about each phase. First is what happens in each phase. Second is the group of people involved. Third is the documents which are generated in each phase. And with a real life example, it will become even easier to understand. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Yep. So there are six phases that can be seven, but these are the things which happen. So this is a framework which makes ideas into production ready products. In the first phase, we plan up and analyze the requirements. In the second one, it is designing phase. Third one is the actual development, which involves the coding. Then testing phase, because you need to ensure the product is working properly before it reaches the users. Then we deploy it on production, and then we just have to maintain it, and the cycle goes on and on. So let's deep dive into each phase and let's understand what how things work. First is the planning phase. This involves the project entire scope, and the people involved here are the high authority people. So they decide how much is the budget and what all things we are planning to include in this. So what happens here is we check for the technical and financial feasibility. Then we decide the timeline, how long it will take for the project to complete. Then you can see the people involved here, which are product owners, product managers, and stakeholders or the investors. In documents, these are this is a very popular document, BRD, which involves business requirement document. It means it has all the info about how the money making process will happen through this product. And it is less technical, but more towards the monetary things. Then they analyze the risk, which is in the risk analyst document, and the cost estimation for all the things which will be needed for it. With a real life example, let's understand a startup wants to build a food delivery app. So what will be their goals? So they want the users to browse restaurants, order food, track delivery, and online payments. So in this planning phase, they will be asking these questions. How many users are expected? Then what is the budget for this? And on what all platforms will this product will be available? So this is the planning phase. Now comes the requirement analysis phase. In this phase, the client comes into picture the first time. In this phase, we decide what will be the functional and non-functional requirements and even the software requirements. So to understand it in a better way, functional requirements is like all the things which are mentioned here in the example, which involves the user registration, login, and all the features which the users can actually see and they can uh, use it, kind of a thing. But non-functional is like the things which are more related to scalability and user experience. So it can be in simple words. This example won't be perfect, but in simple words, you can see this one is like user interface, functional requirements, and user experience is kind of non-functional requirement. So which you feel it, but you can't actually see the things happening on the product. So and edge cases are also discussed in this thing in the requirement analysis phase. Next phase is designing phase. In designing phase, we decide the entire architecture of the product. In this phase, even the API structures are planned and the technology which we'll be using. So like the tech stack is decided in this one. Okay. The people involved are system architects, then UI UX designers and senior developers are involved here. Now comes the document part where we can see high level design and low level design. So for a easy explanation, you can understand it like high level designing is like if you consider a house, so whatever the placing will be, like where will be the kitchen, where will be the bedroom and bathroom. So all these things will be high level design, but what will be the interior, that will come under low level designs. Then the architecture diagram, how all the things will be like the database and you know the technical components are will be falling under architecture diagram. Then API documentation. So by using which endpoints, what data will be fetching, and all the API things are mentioned here. And then database schema design. So we need to ensure like what models are used and what kind of users data we will be saving. And for that, we need this database schema design. And in the real life example, we can see we can use Node.js as backend, React for front end. Then based on SQL, no SQL, we can decide which database to use, then cloud and the architecture. And in design, like how the interfaces will look like, this will be mentioned here, like how the services will be. Next comes the development phase. This is the usually the longest phase, which involves the actual coding. In this one, the developers write code and the codes are reviewed, and unit testing is done here. Unit testing is like the components are tested separately, and it involves the backend developers, front-end developers, database engineers, DevOps engineers. Now, the documents involved here are the actual source codes which are written. Then unit test cases need to be generated for each module. Then, like the codes are written by multiple people, so they need to be reviewed. For that, code review reports are generated. Even the API needs to be documented, so we know what each endpoint is giving us. So it is easier for the other people to onboard and work on the project. And database schema design is implemented here. In the previous one, we decided, and now it is being implemented. And with the real life example, we can see these are the endpoints after like login API, add to cart API, and all the APIs are mentioned here. And after that, on the front end, people will actually, after logging in, they can see the homepage, adding to cart, and the product is actually added. And on the tracking screen, you can track the order. Okay, so this was the development phase. Let's go to testing phase. So this is one of the important phase, and it is not just a phase. It is a whole life cycle in itself, which is software testing life cycle, which we will be covering in the next part. But for this video, it is like what happens in this case. So the QAs write test cases. Then the QA reports some bugs like these things are not working as expected. Then developers have to fix them. So, and regression testing is done, which means from end to end, the flow is tested. People involved here are the QA engineers, test leads, and developers. Developers are needed in testing phase to fix the bugs. Then comes the document phase, in which the test case plans are mentioned, like what are the test cases, what were the bugs reported, then the automation scripts written in that case, and the test summary reports in the real life example. Okay, this is the best thing. So there are two things. One is the basic flow check, which comes under P not check, which means these are the most important things we need to check, which involves checking if the login page is working correctly, if the payment is not failing, what happens if the network drops, and like can multiple people place orders and all those things are mentioned. Then this is when the normal users use, but not each person is a normal user. There are some people who try to exploit the system. So we need security checks as well, which means which some of them are listed here. Like what happens if someone uses expired session token? They can place multiple orders, and it can be a loss for us. So there are certain situations which need to be studied and which need to be handled. So these are also covered in the testing phase, which involves security checks. Then testing is of different types. So unit testing is done on the modules, separate modules. Then when multiple modules are connected, so it's like after login you visit some page. So logging is just one module, and browsing the restaurants is another module. So when these there is a connectivity between these two modules, is there anything breaking? Which that involves integration testing. Then system testing is like the entire flow of the entire system, and then user acceptance testing is like how the user will actually use it. It falls under UAT, acceptance testing. This was about testing phase. Let's see in the next phase, which involves the deployment phase. In this phase, right now we were testing it on some infra which involves pre-prod, and it is not the actual production. So now we want to move it in the production where the actual users will use it. So this in which we need to migrate our database. We need to monitor like are there any issues being faced after deploying it to production. So for this case, we need a different set of people who will work on it. So we need DevOps engineers who handle the pipelines and help in deployment. We need release managers, because release managers are the ones who have the release information and the notes and what all versions we will be publishing. Then we need QA for sanity. So we have a sanity check which has some part of regression testing, and they perform like if there are 100 cases in entire regression, sanity will have like a subset of it, maybe 10, 15, something like that. And then we have a support team. And the documents involved in this case are like the deployment plan. Like as I mentioned, there are different modules. So the modules are linked to each other, and you can't deploy all of them at the same time. Some module needs the connectivity with the other one. So you need to first put the one which is interrelated, and then like kind of a stack. So you need a proper flow for it. Then release notes. So whatever we are releasing to the production, the users need to know what are the features implemented in this. So those are mentioned in the release note. Now rollback plan. If there is any issue and the production is breaking, the product is not working correctly, so you need to roll back. You need to bring the changes back. So for that, we need rollback plan as well. And then we need continuous monitoring and logging to check if all the things are up and working and there is no issue here. And in the real life example, we can see like the app is uploaded to App Store or Play Store. Then the backend was deployed on AWS, and you're using CloudWatch to monitor the logs, and we can actually see the real orders happening first time. So yeah, we are done with the deployment phase now. Let's see. Now comes the maintenance phase. So maintenance phase is like you're maintaining the thing. So now people are actually using the software, and people are happy, but then some people are facing some issues, so they are reporting bugs like this thing is not working correctly. So this phase involves bug fixing. Then like in the testing, we tested for 10,000 users, but 20,000 users are using the system, and then the performance has dropped. So you need to optimize it, you need to make it better. So we need new features, and then as I mentioned, some security threats are also there, so security patches also need to be uh, placed time to time. In this case, the people involved are the support engineers, developers, QA, and the product team. And then the documents in this case are incident reports, like the user incidents which are reported. Then we release patch notes. So in each patches, we need to mention like what security was fixed here. So some notes related to that. Then updated SRS. We had SRS in the previous one as well. So basically, it mentions about the feature changes which are done in that patch updates. And we need to mention the version history document as well, because we need to track like what features were there in the previous version and what are the new ones. So if anyone can just go through and see how the product evolved in its time. And in the real life example, we can see like the users are complaining, like the delivery tracking, they are facing some lag in it, or they are not able to check the live delivery or something like that. So what we do, we make the changes, we add the new features, we fix the broken things, and we release a new version 2.0. So that's how things work, and this cycle goes on and on and on. Now, this was like the life cycle, but to get this implemented, there are different workflows which the companies use, and some of them are waterfall, Scrum, Agile. So in the future videos, I'll upload on like how the workflows work, and the next video will be on software testing life cycle, because this is a life cycle in its own. So this needs to be studied in detail. Please like and subscribe for more such videos, and drop a comment if you think this was useful. I'll see you in the next one.